You never meet anyone by chance. Whatever you feel, whatever you carry, whatever still remains unresolved within you draws the encounters you experience exactly. This is not coincidence. It is the operation of the law of resonance. You attract what is in harmony with your inner state, whether you are aware of it or not. Even the most challenging relationships carry the messages that the ego does not want to see, but the soul needs to hear. Carl Jung believed that the most important encounters are arranged by souls long before bodies recognize one another. So, what are your relationships showing you about yourself? In this video, you will understand why some bonds are formed, why certain patterns repeat, and how encounters that seem like coincidences are actually deep reflections of your own soul. Watch until the end, because once you understand how the law of resonance works in your relationships, you will realize that what you call coincidence is actually the language of the unconscious. I think we have all experienced something like this. While living your life normally, suddenly someone appears before you. A glance in a cafe, a conversation on the subway, a message sent by mistake, and nothing is ever the same again. It feels like a coincidence, but it is not. These encounters that change the direction of life have no visible logic. They do not operate through plans, algorithms, or control. They carry a different feeling, as if they were already written. Even without conscious intention, that presence has been drawn close, as if an invisible thread connected two human experiences living in separate worlds. Carl Jung says, "The person who is unaware of the power of the unconscious thinks everything that happens to them is fate." Carl Jung thought that the people who enter our lives are not accidents, but messengers. They are mirrors, spiritual contracts you signed before you even knew life. Modern society tends to reduce many experiences in our lives to luck, chance, or coincidence. When we meet someone who changes our lives, most people call it destiny. But very few question the deeper meaning of this experience. Jung believed that people do not enter our lives accidentally, but are guided by a hidden order existing in our unconscious. This idea challenges one of the fundamental assumptions of modern thought, that events are disconnected and the people we encounter are random. Jung argued that this worldview disconnects us from the powerful influences of the unconscious. Instead, he proposed that human experiences, including encounters that appear random, are manifestations of a meaningful alignment. He called this synchronicity, that is, simultaneity. This was a subject Jung devoted nearly his entire life to. What we casually call coincidences are, from Jung's perspective, indicators of a hidden harmony between the unconscious and the universe. It refers to events that are not causally connected, but carry deep personal meaning. When you meet someone and it feels like a destined encounter, according to Jung, this is the unconscious externalizing your inner state. These kinds of encounters are messages from the psyche trying to push you toward transformation. Accidents in life are not really accidents. Jung's clinical work was full of coincidences that triggered healing processes in his patients. One of the most well-known examples is the story of a patient who spoke of a golden beetle. She described seeing a golden beetle in her dream, and at that very moment, a rare, real golden-colored beetle struck the window of Jung's office. This moment was not only strange, but a turning point in the woman's therapy. It disabled her rigid rationalism and allowed her to open to the symbolic nature of her inner world. For Jung, this was neither magic nor mysticism. It was the meeting of the self with reality. The inner self was not just something inside the skull. It actively shaped the way reality was experienced. When inner conflicts or desires reach a threshold, the unconscious often reflects this into the external world through people. These individuals are not filler characters. They are symbolic agents in your process of individuation. They may be a stranger who changes your mindset, or a partner who forces you to face your wounds. These figures appear at the moment when the unconscious is ready to show you something deeper. The inner self does not want comfort. It wants wholeness. Jung never claimed that the people who enter our lives come to make us happy. In fact, they often come to shake us. Jung saw this shaking as a necessary part of the individuation process, the path to becoming psychologically whole. Wholeness includes the parts you have repressed, rejected, or ignored. And here lies a paradox. The people who trigger you the most are often the ones sent for your growth. They reflect unconscious contents you are now ready to face. You may feel that someone hurt you, but from the perspective of depth psychology, they only brought unresolved inner wounds to the surface. These people do not enter your life randomly. They appear when you are psychologically ready to confront your shadows, traumas, and projections. They come to initiate an inner journey. Timing is never accidental. The timing of these encounters is one of the most overlooked signs of synchronicity at work. You do not meet someone at just any point in life. You meet them when you are open, vulnerable, in transition, questioning, or searching. Jung emphasized that when a person reaches a psychological threshold, the unconscious becomes especially active. At such times, symbolic figures and archetypes appear in dreams, visions, and yes, in other people. Have you ever met someone who reflected your inner chaos or hope right after an intense breakup, job loss, spiritual awakening, or major change? This is not coincidence. It is the unconscious inviting you to integrate the experience. People appear at the turning points where you cross psychological thresholds. They may trigger your collapse or your transformation. Either way, they are there for a purpose. People are mirrors. External encounters reflect internal conflicts. According to Jung, the soul does not only want to be known, it also wants to be seen, and often uses other people to accomplish this. We are drawn to those who mirror us, those who show what we long for, fear, or need to heal. These coincidental connections are not coincidental at all. Have you ever wondered why you are repeatedly drawn to emotionally unavailable partners? Or why you keep encountering narcissists, manipulators, or wounded souls? From Jung's perspective, this is not bad luck. These are mirrors. They are physical manifestations of unresolved unconscious images. You project what you carry unconsciously onto them, and often it takes a series of such mirrored experiences for a person to finally recognize the pattern. Let us say you repeatedly encounter people who abandon you. On the surface, this may look like an external betrayal, but from the perspective of the soul, it may reflect your fear of intimacy or a deep wound of abandonment carried from childhood. These patterns are not punishments. They are psychological messages that repeat until you resolve and understand them. The role of emotional intensity in these encounters. One of the ways to understand that an encounter is not accidental is emotional intensity. When you meet someone and instantly feel connection, disgust, fear, or fascination, this is a clue that the encounter is psychically charged. Jung advised his students and patients to pay attention to excessive emotional reactions. If someone makes you angry without any logical reason, that is your shadow reacting. If you idealize someone at first sight, it may be because you are projecting your inner image of the feminine or masculine onto them. If someone feels strangely familiar, that person may be touching a deep archetypal layer within the unconscious. Strong emotional reactions are rarely only about the other person. The real issue is what that person represents within your inner world. Such encounters force you to examine what lies dormant in your psyche. Coincidental encounters are points of initiation. Sometimes we meet someone and everything changes. A teacher says one sentence and our view of the world shifts. A stranger you meet on the subway listens to your story. A new friend introduces you to a book or an experience that changes your life. From the outside, this looks like coincidence. But from a Jungian perspective, these are initiatory moments. They symbolize the beginning of a new psychological chapter. The unconscious often speaks through symbols, and sometimes a person is that symbol. You do not always need a dream to speak with your shadow. Sometimes your shadow arrives in the form of a person. They trigger you, love you deeply, or leave you without explanation. These initiatory encounters overturn your sense of self. They pull you out of your old self-concept and invite you into a deeper version of who you are. Your inner state determines whom you meet. One of Jung's deepest insights is this: your inner world determines whom you encounter. You attract not what you want, but what you are. This includes both your conscious identity and your unconscious parts. If you carry repressed trauma, you may meet someone who triggers it, not to hurt you, but to make the wound visible. If you secretly fear being seen, you may meet someone who abandons you, reflecting that fear. If you are learning to love yourself, you may encounter people who test your boundaries. These are not punishments, but spiritual synchronizations, the meeting of your soul's lesson with another person's potential to teach it. Sometimes the person is not even aware of the important role they play in your growth. They may resist the connection or suddenly disappear. The symbolic role of people in Jungian psychology. In Jungian psychology, people are never just people. They are often symbols. They carry archetypal energy appropriate to the psychological process you are currently experiencing. Some common symbolic figures are these: the mirror, the one who reflects both your strengths and your shadow; the trigger, the one who activates your deepest emotional reactions; the teacher, the one who speaks a truth that changes your world forever; the destroyer, the one who shakes your spiritual stagnation; the guide, the one who opens the path to healing or awakening. You may feel instantly drawn to these people, or you may dislike them at first sight. In either case, the encounter means far more than personality compatibility. Symbolism can be subtle. A friend introduces you to a spiritual book, and that book becomes your new path. A lover forces you to face your abandonment wounds. Even a brief conversation with a stranger may become a turning point in your timeline. According to Jung, such encounters are visible expressions of messages from the unconscious, the collective unconscious, and shared encounters. Jung also believed that we are not isolated individuals drifting alone in the universe. Rather, we are all part of the collective unconscious, a vast reservoir of shared symbols, archetypes, and energies. This means some encounters are not only personal but universal. You may meet someone who represents a sage, a trickster, a mother figure, or a lover. These people do not only affect your psychology, they awaken ancient patterns within your soul. This also explains why some people feel destined, mythological, or surreal. And often, once their archetypal role is completed, they disappear. The relationship ends. The magic fades. This is the fulfillment of a spiritual purpose. When the lesson is complete, people leave. One of the hardest Jungian truths to accept is this: people leave your life when their symbolic role is finished. We usually cling to people because of the feelings they awaken in us. But from the perspective of the soul, their task is complete. You may want the relationship to continue, but your unconscious no longer needs the lesson they offered. And so they disappear, withdraw, or leave dramatically. The ego resists, but the soul knows you received what you needed. Therefore, the critical question is not, why did they leave? But rather, what did they awaken in me? This question transforms pain into alchemy, reviewing past encounters through a Jungian lens. When you begin to see your life from this perspective, past relationships gain entirely new meaning. That closest friend who betrayed you taught you boundaries. That former partner who shattered your confidence showed you your dependencies. The stranger who comforted you during a panic attack reflected the healer within you. Jung encouraged people to see their life stories not as random chaos, but as a chain of meaningful, interconnected events. There is a book worth mentioning here that aligns perfectly with everything discussed. Joseph Murphy's The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. If you want to clearly understand why you attract certain people, cycles, and experiences, this book is essential reading. Murphy explains something that completely changes how we perceive life. It is not the conscious mind that directs our behaviors, choices, or even the people we meet, but the subconscious mind. What you say or want consciously has little importance. If deep within you carry beliefs of rejection, abandonment, inadequacy, or unworthiness, that is what you resonate with and what you attract. Murphy compares the subconscious to fertile soil. Whatever you plant there, repeated thoughts, intense emotions, rooted beliefs, grows and becomes your reality. And this is exactly where everything connects with the law of resonance. The seeds within you emit a vibration, and that vibration attracts corresponding external experiences. Relationships, encounters, recurring cycles, none are accidental. All arise from what vibrates within you, even if you are not fully aware of it. The most fascinating part is this. Murphy speaks of reprogramming the subconscious. If you change your beliefs, if you consciously begin to nourish your mind with new images and emotions, your vibrational field changes. And with that change, what you attract also changes. This awareness shows that most relationships are not formed through logical choices, but through the external reflections of inner wounds, unintegrated parts, or qualities that need development. If you feel drawn to the same kinds of people again and again, if you relive the same events repeatedly, the power of the subconscious can open a new door. This is not a superficial self-help suggestion. It is a deep yet accessible explanation of how the mind works. And when inner change begins, the outer world also begins to change. Another important truth is this: not every relationship comes to complete you. Some come only to remind you that you are already whole. These bonds are not built on lack, but on presence. They do not feed fantasies or fill emptiness. They simply exist together, and that alone carries a profound healing power. Healing relationships are not the most intense or the most romantic ones. They are the ones in which you can be yourself, where you do not perform, where you are listened to, where your silence is respected, where your broken parts are accepted. In such relationships, the other does not try to fix you. They walk beside you. They remain present while you rebuild yourself. These bonds awaken what Jung called the healer archetype, the energy that listens without judgment, accepts without trying to shape, and can see your pain without fear. Being with such a person feels like finally landing somewhere you can breathe. Yet even these relationships can be challenging, because real healing comes not from comfort, but from authentic presence. Sometimes the other person shows you how far you have drifted from yourself. They touch the places you hid, not to hurt you, but to make them visible. And when that openness is held with compassion, what was fragmented begins to reorganize. We often expect others to fill what is missing, but healing relationships promise no completion. They offer reflection, support, and truth. Less dramatic, perhaps, but far more powerful, because they return the inner strength that dependency once took away. Healing love does not promise to save you. It reminds you that you can rebuild yourself. It strengthens you not to carry you, but so you can walk consciously. It holds your hand without holding you back. These relationships do not have to last forever. Some arrive like a season. They warm something inside you, allow something to bloom, and then they leave. But what they leave behind is permanent, because they demonstrate that it is possible to form deep bonds without losing individuality. They come not to fill a void, but to remind you of something you already possessed and forgot. And with that remembering, healing begins quietly, not through dependency, but through presence. Every bond awakens something within you, a sleeping strength, a forgotten wound, a role you never knew you carried, because the other person is not just someone. They are also an awakener of archetypes. According to Jung, archetypes are universal structures living in the collective unconscious, behavioral patterns, symbolic images, deep emotional blueprints we all carry. When someone enters your life, they may awaken the hero, the protector, the rebel, the victim, the sage, or the wounded child. This awakening is usually unconscious. You simply feel it. You feel the need to protect someone or the desire to be saved by them. You feel assigned the role of guide. Or you notice, perhaps for the first time, a space where you can be vulnerable. Sometimes you fall in love, not with the person, but with the role they awaken in you. This explains why some bonds feel so intense. They bring you into contact with hidden parts of your own soul. These archetypes are not fixed. As the relationship evolves, they change as well. The same person may make you feel strong one day and bring you to your knees the next. This does not mean the bond was false. It means it touched different layers of you. The person is the spark, but the fire is yours. You do not meet people by accident. You meet living mirrors of your own parts. Each one offers you a chance to become more whole, more aware, more faithful to yourself. Not every love is meant to last. Some come to open you, some to break you. But even that breaking is sacred, because the purpose of some encounters is not to continue, but to transform. In the end, almost nothing was coincidence. Those who came, those who stayed, those who left, all resonated with something already vibrating within you. Every encounter served a purpose: to awaken, reveal, teach, challenge, heal, or sometimes destroy, and sometimes all at once. You did not meet anyone by chance. Every person was a bridge between who you are and who you could become. Every story left a trace. Not a wound, but a map. And now, when you look at everything you have lived, perhaps you can finally say with a quiet relief, it was worth it. Because in the end, every encounter was what it needed to be. A door opening to yourself. See you in the next video. If this video increased your awareness even one step, liking and subscribing shows that I am not alone on this journey. Finally, continue on your own path. Everything is in your hands.